I'm Chris Clark. Welcome back to my channel. I've never been particularly consistent with my posting, but I appreciate you all being here. Part of the reason I haven't been posting as often or as frequently, I took a little bit of time off. We're actually expecting, and so I decided to simplify and pare down what I was doing for a little while. But anyways, here I am. So today's video is going to be just sort of going over the science that we're using this year, which is the Elementary Zoology from Master Books. Now this is a course that's designed for or suggested for 4th through 6th grade. So it's a little bit above where my kids are, but it's what they wanted. It's what they were interested in. They really wanted to learn about animals, and so we just went with it. So I'll be sharing how I'm adapting it to the ages that I'm using it for. So I have 3rd, 2nd, kinder, and preschool. And in our homeschool, we do family subjects and individual subjects, so science is a family subject for us. I have the revised edition. This is a course that's been around for a while, but they've switched out a couple of the books, I think, that come with it. You get the teacher guide, which I've combined 2 guides together. If you've watched my videos on organization, you know I take my teacher guides and combine them all together into one big teacher guide. But anyways, so you get the teacher guide, and then it comes with these books. It has a bunch of different units, basically, that you go through. This teacher guide is in full color. I will say real quick, just a note, the first unit that you go through, how many animals were on the ark, if I were to do this over, I would save that for the end, because that is really like the most difficult one, in my opinion. Just looking, we haven't gone through all of it, but what we have gone through and what I've looked ahead, we already finished that first unit. It definitely was more difficult than the other units that we've done. Like I mentioned, we do this family style, which means that my preschooler, who is almost 4, just listens and plays with quiet toys or Play-Doh or blocks or Legos or whatever he's interested in at that time. Maybe he'll color. Sometimes I print out a coloring page, or if there's one in the teacher guide, I'll make him a copy, but that doesn't happen very often, and I'm not really expecting him to retain any of it. He just joins us. Then my kinder, first-ish, because, you know, grades are fluid around here. She will listen in, and sometimes same if there's a coloring page, she might do that, but she generally will notebook. So we have these little primary composition books. She'll draw a picture and dictate to me what she remembers about whatever we talked about, and then sometimes I have her trace what she dictated. Other times I don't worry about it. Kind of depends on how the day's going and how willing she is to write. And then an example, my older children will do pretty much the worksheets as written. Occasionally I'll adapt for it or like forego a worksheet, especially for my 2nd grader. My 3rd grader pretty much just does the course as written, but there's a lot of coloring pages. There's, you know, word searches, connect the dots with numbers. So a lot of it is completely within her skill set. The books that come with this course are amazing. I really love them. And I would even recommend picking them up even if you're not going to be doing this course, just as reference books on your shelf, you know. I find that we pull them out a lot, even outside of our science time. And my kids love looking at them. The pictures are great. I'll go over them with you guys, a quick rundown on what is included. First up, one of my favorites is this, God's Amazing Creatures and Me. And this is actually a devotional. It says that it contains devotions for boys and girls 6 to 10. And this is like sprinkled in. It's not something that we do daily, but I love this. The suggested schedule has this in on Fridays, and I just find it to be something that sparks really great conversations with my kids. And it's a really interesting concept. It connects a trait or an interesting fact about animals to a character trait that we should have, and then where we find that in the Bible. Like this one, this says, don't be a quitter. This is about penguins, the emperor penguins, and it talks about how the penguin shows us patience and endurance. The father penguin is a great dad. They mate for life. Has all these facts about the penguin. And then it will go over a related topic to that character trait found in the Bible. So this one goes over 1 Kings chapter 18, verses 42 through 46. And then the last portion, the How About You portion, is one that I love because this is where we really start to have these incredible conversations. And not every single time, but I'm amazed at how deep my children really go when I'm not expecting it, you know? So it will connect them, sort of teach them how this applies to them, and ask leading questions to help them reflect and really take in the scripture and see how it could apply to them. And then there's always a memory verse. I read this aloud to my kids, but if you have an older child who's, at this reading level, reading independently, this would also be a great book for just independent reading. You also get how many animals were on the ark. Now, like I mentioned before, the subject matter of this one definitely was above where my children are at. I think it would really fit like a 5th or 6th grade student. So we kind of boiled it down a little bit and I adapted a lot of this portion. But it is a really interesting read and I really enjoyed this book. So I think this is just a great homeschool reference book. There's really great illustrations. It really clears up how the flood and the ark really could have happened, and the apologetics behind it and the science behind how it could have worked. This really takes a deep dive into macro versus micro evolution and animal kinds and how that works and how we observe that in the natural world. And there's lots of charts. So this is a great one. But like I said, if you have younger students, you're definitely going to need to adapt this one. There's lots of large scientific words in it and concepts that might be difficult for them to grasp at that age. The Complete Aquarium Adventure and the Complete Zoo Adventure. And these books are a lot of fun. It's basically a field trip in a book. The suggested daily schedule has you kind of move around in these books, but the first section is devotionals, and then you get into the different sections. The teacher guide has worksheets that will tie in with these lessons. So I read these aloud to my students. Again, I'm doing this with younger students. There's also cards included, and there's games outlined in the teacher guide. So we played a game where we clothespinned to the back of their shirt, of each of the kids' shirts, one of these. So this is the American alligator, and there's facts about it. And they would ask each other yes or no questions to try to guess what animal they were. And that was really fun. The kids really enjoyed that. So there's little games like that are included in the teacher guide. And they all fit nice and neat in the back in like a little treasure chest. This one is definitely one that I would keep from younger. Like my preschooler doesn't have access to this book because we would lose pieces, pages would rip. So that's something to keep in mind. So I totally forgot to talk about this book, but here I am in a voiceover. This is the Complete Zoo Adventure, and it's set up just like the Aquarium Adventure book with devotions and then sections of all the different animals. And then there's also cards in the back. And then our favorite book that came with this course is God's Big Book of Animals. And this book is really big. And my kids love looking through this. I find them looking through it in the mornings before school, during their quiet reading time. It's a favorite that, gets fought over. But there's just really great big pictures, very detailed, lots of interesting facts. It's been a great resource. So this course is definitely, I feel like, one of the pricier courses. I think it comes in right around $100. I do think the value is there. I mean, you're getting all of these really great books. And I think that's kind of what's different about it. It's not just a consumable workbook. You have all these great reference books that you'll continue to use for years to come. We also don't follow the suggested daily schedule like the way that it's written. I still do things in the order that it was given. So I do follow it, but we do a loop. So I'm not doing science every single day. I think that would be too much for my kids for where we're at and how we're doing it. So we do science on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I usually will consolidate a couple of days. The lessons are really very short, and so we can usually do a couple of lessons in our one day that we're focused on that. And we might spend a little bit more time on science that day than we would if we were doing it every single day, because that's our only extracurricular for that day. And that just works better for my kids. Real quick too, I forgot to talk about this. This is a little bit of an extra that we throw in. This is the Marvels of Creation. There's actually 3 of these books. They come in the family morning basket, which we have, and they have paired great with zoology. So that is how we are making it work as a family subject. There is definitely some adapting. I'm not doing it exactly as written, but that's one of the things I love about master books, is that it really is easy to adapt. Randy from Master Books will say, and if you watch the teaching tips that they have, talks about how the curriculum is the tool and you're the carpenter. And there's a lot of freedom in that. And I used to be more kind of bound by my curriculum. Like I had to do it the way that it was written. And so I have found a lot of freedom and a lot of joy in taking on the role as carpenter and adapting it to fit exactly how we want it in what we're looking for. And we've been really pleased with how easy it is to switch it up. And I haven't found it to be too much trouble or a lot of work on my part, which I think is important too, because I don't have a lot of time or the desire to prioritize a lot of time to be planning lessons and, prepping things and changing things. And so I love that even with making changes, it's still very open and go. I hope you enjoyed this little look at / overview of how we're using elementary zoology from Master Books. For my next video, I'm planning to go over how we're using America's Story 1. Very similar. I'll kind of explain what we do and how we adapt it to use it family style. Until next time, happy schooling.